Hi, I'm Vic.
And I'm DJ.
And this is Adventures with Vic and DJ.
Last summer in 2025, we took a 5-day trip to Illinois to enjoy the city of Chicago and some other sights. We took my 3 nephews, Isaiah, Jordan, and Landon.
We checked in to the Fox River Resort, located about 2 hours outside of Chicago. The first night, we just got into the pool and we ordered some pizza and just hung out and got ready for the next day.
Day 2, we woke up and headed right for Aurora. It was about a 45-minute drive from the resort. Then we jumped on a train and we took a train from Aurora to Union Station. It's about an hour and a half ride. It was, I think, all of our first times on a train like this. It was a good experience. The parking at Aurora was $2 for the day and $13.50 for adults for tickets and $6.50 per child for tickets for the whole day.
If you're visiting Chicago for the first time, or even if you've been here before, Millennium Park is one of those places that you just have to experience. It sits right in the heart of downtown Chicago. This park blends art, architecture, music, and a city life all into one walkable area. So let's take a quick look around.
Of course, the most famous feature here is the Bean, officially called Cloudgate. And yes, everyone just calls it the Bean.
The sculpture was designed to reflect Chicago's skyline, the sky above and the people walking around it. No matter how many photos you've seen online, it's one of those things that looks completely different in person.
And don't forget while you're there to flick the bean.
Right behind the Bean is the J. Pritzker Pavilion, Millennium's Park Outdoor Amphitheater. This is where Chicago hosts free concerts, movie nights, and major music events throughout the year. While we were there, Lollapalooza was going on, and they were getting ready for a concert area at the pavilion. We did not stick around for that, though. What's cool is the stage isn't your basic stage. It looks more like a piece of art than a traditional concert venue. Even when there's no event happening, it's just a fun place to sit, relax, and take in the atmosphere of the city.
Another one of the coolest features of Millennium Park is Crown Fountain. It's made up of 2 massive glass towers that display video faces of real Chicago residents. Every few minutes, water shoots out of the mouths of one of the faces. It's an example of how Chicago mixes art, technology, and public space in a way that feels interactive, not just by something you look at, but something you experience.
After walking around Millennium Park, you can't come to Chicago without talking about food, especially deep dish pizza. One of the most famous spots is Giordano's. They're known for their Chicago-style stuffed deep dish pizza. And yes, it is as heavy as it looks. This right here is the meat deep dish pizza. It has a thick crust, layers of cheese, sausage, pepperoni, and the one feature that's kind of unique is that the sauce is on top. So basically, a pizza that eats like a full meal. This isn't your thin New York style pizza where you fold it and walk around. This is a sit down, take your time, kind of eat pizza. And fair warning, the deep dish takes about 30 to 45 minutes to make. But once it hits the table, you'll understand why. Just look at that cheese pull.
After getting filled up on some delicious deep dish pizza, it started to rain, so we decided it was time to head back to the resort. So we jumped on the train and rode back to Aurora, jumped in the truck, back to the resort for an early night.
The next morning, we got up early and went to Starved Rock, which is famous for its sandstone canyons, waterfalls, and scenic overlooks along the Illinois River. There are more than a dozen canyons here, and after rain or during spring snowmelt, the waterfalls really come to life. Some of the overlooks sit high above the river, giving you a wide, sweeping views that don't look like what most people imagine when they think of Illinois, let alone the day before seeing all of the skyscrapers.
According to ChatGPT, You do not have to be an extreme hiker to enjoy Starved Rock. A lot of trails are well marked, and some of the most popular views are just a short walk from the parking areas. That said, and believe me, there are stairs, lots of stairs, depending on which way you go. Uneven terrains and cliffs, so good shoes make a big difference.
As you can see, having the right shoes really does make a difference because the rocks are slippery. We went to St. Louis Canyon, which is the tallest and most iconic canyon in the park. The waterfall usually appears as a thin cascade, especially during springtime, and as you see, it was a thin cascade during that time. One of the things is that you want to just make sure as you're walking around, you take in the beauty of the park and of the sandstone. To get to the St. Louis Canyon, it's about a 30 to 45-minute round trip from the nearest parking area. But if it's crowded, muddy, icy, or if you're stopping for pictures, it might take a little bit longer. Although it's only about 1 mile, actually probably a little less, only about a tenth or 7/10 of a mile. But you do have to take stairs, uneven rocks, and some incline. It's definitely worth the trip.
The next day, we took the train back into the city. Once there, we jumped on a water taxi. Down the Chicago River, we took the water taxi from Monroe Street all the way down to Chinatown. This is one of the most underrated ways to see the city. You're moving through downtown, under bridges, past skyscrapers. It's way more relaxed than traffic. Chinatown feels completely different from the Loop. The architecture changes, the streets slow down, and the food scene is incredible. We walked around, explored the neighborhood, and then grabbed some lunch. We didn't go very traditional Chicago for this. While walking around, we noticed an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant. So that's what we did. And we probably ate too much, but don't worry, we got our steps in for the day after we left. It was definitely worth the trip down to Chinatown on its own if you're visiting Chicago, if you want something authentic and outside the typical tourist path. This is a great stop.
After lunch, we jumped on the L and headed back toward the lake, ending the day at Navy Pier. What's the L, you ask? Well, it's just a fancy name for an elevated train. But it's a nice way to be able to go around and see the city. I would say that's one of the things that Chicago does really well. You can do a river taxi, you could do traffic if you really want, you could do public transit, you can walk, but the best part is you can get all around the day, really, without ever needing a car. If you have never seen Lake Michigan or Navy Pier, it is definitely a place to go. It can go right from downtown all the way out to Lake Michigan. And Lake Michigan is exactly that, a lake, although it really doesn't look like a lake, it looks more like an ocean.
From Navy Pier, it's an easy walk back towards the heart of downtown and the Magnificent Mile. We took a trip right by the Ohio Street Beach, and of course we had to stop at Starbucks on our way through the Magnificent Mile. Next up, we hit the River Walk, which really completed the river for us since we already had taken the water taxi from Union Station down to Chinatown. So the walk from Lake Michigan back towards Willis Tower, where we were ending our day, really completed the river for us. Of course, you never know what you're going to run into as you walk, and the river walk was blocked, so we had to head up to the street. But don't worry, we figured out what was going on pretty fast when we looked down.
One of the best things about the Riverwalk were these two identical towers that kind of resembled corn cobs. They're actually a residential apartment complex, and you could even live there if you wanted to. Yes, DJ did look up how much apartment costs to live there, but don't worry, we will not be moving to Chicago anytime soon. Although, being able to hop on a taxi or your private boat or a jet ski and go downtown would be kind of fun. Next up, we headed over to the Willis Tower.
The Willis Tower, formerly Sears Tower, boasts around 104 elevators, including 16 double-decker cars, featuring some of the world's fastest speeds up to 1,600 feet per minute, 18 miles per hour. for a quick ascent to the sky deck, utilizing an express local system similar to subways for efficiency, with modernization by Otis improving the smooth, fast ride to the top floor in about a minute.
Something DJ and I have been doing is going up into tall buildings when we are traveling. So we decided that we were going to take our nephews up to the sky deck in Chicago's Willis Tower, which offers breathtaking views from the 103rd floor. It features the Ledge, which is a glass balcony that extends out about 3 to 4 feet, allowing us to stand 1,353 feet above the city view. Looking down and looking through that 1.5-inch glass, so only 38 millimeters thick, was a little bit scary. It also includes an interactive exhibit about Chicago's history, architect, fast elevators, and unique sense of looking straight down to the street.
It seems like there's always something going on in the city the size of Chicago. But when we went, as mentioned earlier, Lollapalooza was also going on. We knew there was lots of people in town for the music festival. We had no idea until we got up to Willis Tower and looked down. There's an average of 115,000 people per day, and you don't understand how many that is until you get to stand up high up above and look down at the crowd.
We chose sunset for the beautiful views and being able to see what was going on. As you see, Lollapalooza is right there. But on a good day, you can actually see 4 states from the top of Willis Tower. You can see Illinois, obviously, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Michigan. What a fun time we had.
Chilling like a villain.
We're gonna go viral.
You think we're gonna go viral?
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on our epic adventure.
Until next time.